Okay, we'll just give people a couple more minutes to join. Obviously, this is quite early in the morning for some of you. Not for me. It's about 3 p.m. here in the UK. Okay, if everybody's ready, let's get underway. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining. As I say, it's pretty early in the morning for some of you, so I'll try and be a gentle introduction to this one. So we're going to be talking about making Moodle work for you using automation. And as in the description, this is going to center around some plugins that are freely available through the Moodle plugin catalog, and they are all certified tested up to 3.8, so they're very current, very well updated and maintained, so hopefully you shouldn't have too many troubles using any of these should you go forward with them. So on to next slide. So apologies first of all if anybody was expecting the guy on the left. He is not what I've heard that up on Moodle, and so you might appreciate that it's going to be me who I'm on the right. So a little bit about myself. I'm Chris Pratt. I'm a client care analyst at eThink, and I've used Moodle as both a teacher and as an admin for about 15-16 years since version 1.5. So obviously things have come a long way since that point in time. For anybody who remembers those days, Moodle community has grown massively, and obviously uptake around the world is absolutely phenomenal. It's huge right now. And just a quick one slide about eThink. So we are a certified premium Moodle partner with a high touch, high quality service that we provide. We're Moodle Workplace certified. We do all the features and facilities as listed there on the slide. And there's a picture of Brian and Cheryl, who are the founders of eThink, two of the most lovely people you could ever wish to meet. And before anybody says it, yes, I am quite literally paid to say that, but it's a genuine comment as well. They are very, very lovely. On to the next slide. So what are we going to look at in detail today? So mainly centers around cohort population. And if you don't use cohorts, or you've got a reason to not use cohorts, then hopefully I'll maybe be able to change your mind a little bit on a few of these things. We're going to look at things like how to populate a cohort using a profile field, through the various methods of getting your users into the site, and also looking at how to do that through group membership with LDAP. And another plugin we'll look at briefly is auto groups as well. And also there'll be another plugin I'm going to throw in there as a bonus one, which is not listed on that slide. So hopefully you'll enjoy having a little live demonstration of this. So yes, it is live. So all caveats on things going wrong are declared right now. Hopefully everything should go straight forward. So what have we got? We've got cohort population. So why would you use cohort population? We have a number of users sites where normally we would recommend our integration that we've written, so that it would directly connect to a client's SIS. And what we found is that some clients don't have an SIS that we can connect to for whatever reason. So maybe it's a closed database and we don't have access to it, or they don't have rights to be able to create a view, for example. So we can use other methods to try and get that enrollment automated, because this is what all this presentation is about, is trying to automate these processes. We all know that it's just not practical to enroll thousands of people onto tens and hundreds of courses. So that's why we're looking at this in more detail. So here are the couple of plugins we're going to look at. So one is the profile-based cohort membership plugin, and then the next one is the LDAP group plugin, and then we'll look at auto groups, which can create groups on the fly. It's one thing that seems to be missing from Moodle's automated processes. You can automate a CSV upload, which will do course enrollment, but it doesn't have the facility to put them into a group at the same time, which is a bit of an omission in my opinion. You can do it through the front end, but obviously automation means hands off. So yes, you can do it through upload users and add a group, but you can't do it through any sort of automated process. Even the external database doesn't do the groups part of it. So we have quite a few clients who need to use the groups in more detail. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second and move from the presentation into my live demo. 2 seconds whilst I bring up the correct page. And I just want to say, if there's any questions as we're going through, please do sort of shout out, because it's probably better to be looking at these things while we're actually on the right screen rather than me having to track back. So if anything, please just unmute yourself and just shout, and we'll hopefully be able to answer your questions. Obviously, I'm not the plugin developers, so I'll do my best to answer any questions. But it's from our experience of how much we've used these plugins. So hopefully we'll be able to see you through on any questions. So the first one we're going to look at is the profile-based cohort membership. And what this plugin does, we have a client in particular in the UK who uses this, where the LDAP sync, so that's syncing from their Active Directory, will populate a profile field with what course they are doing. So these students only do one course. So it's a degree, they're a university, so they're doing a degree, so they'll get that populated. So it could be, they're an art university, so it could be, an MA in graphic design, and that goes into that profile field. And then what this plugin does is it takes that profile field data and enrolls them on a pre-created cohort. And then that cohort is enrolled in the correct courses. So it could, as I say, it could be courses, because it could be a program of courses that they're doing, not just a single course. So that's one of the benefits there. So as you can see, I've got my sandbox here. And I'm just going to take you through the process of what it takes to automate this plugin. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a cohort. So obviously, I want to do it start to finish for anybody who's never done anything like this. So we're going into users, and we're going into cohorts, and we're going to add a new cohort. And we're going to call this cohort team. And I'm going to give it the ID of team as well. That will become more apparent why I'm putting an ID in. It's not required, as you can see, because there's no red exclamation mark, but for the purposes of a bit future in the demonstration, I'm going to populate that for now. And as we can see, my new cohort's being created. So I'm going to head over to the plugin, which is in site administration, users, profile-based cohort membership. And the first thing it's going to ask me is, which of the cohorts on my Moodle site am I going to give control to the plugin to manage? So we've just created the one called team. So we'll click team, save changes. And it says there are no profile fields. So we need to create a profile field. So let's head into site administration, users, profile fields. And I'm just going to create a text input one. And we're going to call it team again. It has to be populated twice, short name and full name. And the rest of the settings I'm just going to leave as default. Obviously, if it was your own site, you may want to look at these, like visibility, for example. Save those changes, and we have a new profile field. So what I'm going to do now is go into the plugin again. Obviously, with cohort creation, that is something you can bulk upload as part of Moodle Core. So if you're going to be creating hundreds of cohorts, you can upload those in a CSV. I'm not going to go through that now because that's obviously part of Core. So we're back into the plugin and we're going to create a rule that says whatever is inside that value is inside that profile field we just created when it's populated, what cohort are they going to go into? So here's the page for doing that. So we're going to use the team profile field. If team matches, so this is an exact match, I'm going to call it team Chris. The user will be added to which cohort. We've only got one that we've selected, so it'll be that one, and save changes. Now, one of the pitfalls of this is that you can end up with a lot of rules, and this does not page when you get to a certain amount. So we had, like I said, the client I spoke about earlier, they have over 250 rules now, which means that this page becomes very slow and very clunky in trying to add and change rules, but that's something you just have to bear with if you end up with lots of rules. So now we've created that rule. I'm going to go back in. I'm just going to show you in the cohorts that it hasn't done anything yet. So the team still has 0 users in. Now we're going to change the profile field. So I'm just going to pick a user at random. I think we'll go for this one at the bottom. And I'm going to put team Chris in. Now, as I said earlier, this to complete the automation circle, what you ideally want is to have this populated when the user is created or updated. So it could be through Active Directory, through the LDAP sync, it could be the SAML plugin, it could be external database, depend on which auth type you're using. So you don't want to be duplicating information. Obviously, things can be typed in mistakenly. So if you've got one center for this information, say Active Directory, for example, where the details are there, you can go into the LDAP plugin and you can say, I want this field from Active Directory to populate my custom profile field. Very quickly, I can show you that because I have it set up. So if we go down to the authentication of LDAP server, and I scroll down, we have the data mapping section, which uses the Active Directory field name to populate the Moodle name. So here, given name is the user's first name in Active Directory, and so I'm mapping that to first name. And if I scroll right down to the bottom, we should see our new profile field. Here it is, data mapping for team. So if that was populated in, say, department in Active Directory, I could type that in there, hit save, and then the next time the user logs in, if it's set to update on login, it will do that, and then the profile plugin will put them in the right cohort. So there we go. So let's do that. Let's save that now. So we're back to the user. I'm clicking update profile. That user is now saved. And this plugin works whenever a change is made to the user. So it should, fingers crossed, if we go back into cohorts, there we go. We have a cohort size of 1. So that user is in there automatically, if you like, without any intervention from me. So long as that profile field has the right value in, the plugin will take over. And then that could be an enrollment method on hundreds of courses. And there you go. You've already enrolled one person on 100 courses, and it took about 3 minutes. So, and obviously that process then would be automated for any additions that you would add in the future. Any questions up to that point? Okay, we will continue on. So the next plugin I wanted to look at was the LDAP syncing script. And the way that this plugin works is instead of using an attribute in Active Directory that you would map across, it looks at group membership. So if your users are in Active Directory groups, you can then populate cohorts using this plugin. So let's just have a quick look at that. I'm going to start by creating a new cohort. And I'm going to call this one AD groups. And there we go. We've got our new cohort there. And I'm just going to quickly stop sharing and move to my Active Directory box. There it is. Hope everybody can see that. So this is a Windows server running Active Directory. So you may have something similar within your institution or organization where all your users' logins are created. I've got a couple of example users here, and I'm going to create a new group. And I'm going to call it AD. And I'm going to add the second user to the group. Can everybody see that? I see that Rick can only see the slide. Can everybody see my screen, the Active Directory screen?
I am.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Rick,
Yes.
I'm not sure what's happening for you there, Rick, if you can only see the slide. Maybe try exiting and joining again. Thanks everybody for confirming. Cheers. So just to recap, so we've got our group and we've got our user in the group here. And I'm just going to stop sharing and go back to Moodle. And we're back to Moodle. And as I said before, the reason why we put the ID in is because that's what it looks at to match the names up. So it's irrelevant what's in this field here, it's what this field is here. So I'm going to go to the cron, the scheduled task, and I'm just going to force that to now check those groups. So I need to find the correct scheduled task. And it's about halfway down, I think. Here it is. So it's going to synchronize cohorts from LDAP groups. I'm going to hit run now. And hopefully, he says, if we go back to the cohorts, hey, there we go. We have our student in the cohort, and I can double check that by going in there, and there is the student. So that's, again, another very powerful tool. So your IT department, if it's not your area, may already have, well, almost certainly if they're using a directory services like Active Directory, will already have lots of groups being used for all sorts of different purposes. So, so hopefully you would be able to alleviate that and leverage that use, so you're not duplicating that. Now, where would you use that in an institution, for example, say a university or such? You may have groups for things like faculty courses that aren't necessarily teaching courses, so they're grouped together by faculty, or you might have something like IT support or something across college, across university service, such as student support or careers or something like that, and then you can enroll those into those types of courses that are common to that group. Now you may say, Chris, that's great, but what about adding that enrollment method to lots of courses? Because if we go to one course and we're going to have to go in and we're going to have to go enrollment methods, cohort sync, pick my cohort name, which was a team. Oh, sorry, no, yeah, so we're going to call it team. And then I'm going to pick it from here. That's quite a long process for hundreds of courses. This is where our bonus plugin comes in. So there is another plugin which allows you to upload enrollment methods. So what we have is, I'm just going to quickly move over to my Notepad++ so I can show you the file. Hopefully everybody can see that. We have a very simple CSV file here, which the first column is what is the action being taken. So you can add or you can modify. What is being added? You can do meta courses with this or cohorts. So we're going to do cohorts. This TC5 is a course I'm going to create in a minute. So that's the short code for the course. And then in this column here, this is the cohort that's going to be used. So remember, we created the team one. 0 and 1 is whether it's enabled or disabled. And then this is the role that's going to be applied to the to the users in that course when they're enrolled through this method. So that's, again, so it's pretty simple CSV, and you could obviously have hundreds in this list. So we're going to just move back to Moodle. So I've got my file there, it's saved, and I go to add this. I'm going to go to the plugins page, go to enrollment, and here it is, upload enrollment methods. Oh, I need to create my course first. Let me just open a new tab and create my course. There we go, we have that created. And I'm going to upload the file. And it's on my desktop. Here it is. And there's the confirmation. So I go to my test course 5, I go to my participants, and there it is. So we go into detail. There is my cohort sync. So that's, again, sort of completing the loop of automation. That would add as many enrollment methods to as many courses as you wanted very, very quickly. Any questions on that up to that point? Oh, Jared's raised his hand. Yes, Jared.
So I asked a question in the chat. So using this method with LDAP and AD, if people leave the organization that were enrolled in a course, will that remove them from the course after the sync?
So when they remove from the cohort, their enrollment is suspended, I believe. So their data is kept intact but not deleted.
Okay, so but the access login's gone because the AD LDAP access login is removed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get that as a common question with a lot of areas. So people want to delete the user out of Moodle when they're removed from AD, and we're always cautious of that because of user data should they ever come back into the institution for whatever reason. So we always recommend that we just suspend, and then if they want to do a tidy up at the end of the year, then that's fine. We can do that en masse. But yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
And then I have one additional question, if I could,
yeah.
on something slightly earlier. You'd said that you're doing it by teams, uploading the cohort. That's how it's grabbing people you've identified. So in my organization, we have many subgroups, as most organizations do, and I don't want it to send it to all 350 people. I only want to send it to 100 people. If we identified them some way in LDAP or AD, we could use that as it's only going to upload and create 100 accounts in the courses.
Yeah, do you mean the groups or by the attribute? Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I mean, you can. So the way that plugin works is it uses the settings from your LDAP plugin to see where it's going to search. So in which context is it going to search?
Okay.
So as long as the group exists in this context, it will find it. You can also do group within group nesting as well. Obviously gets a bit complicated,
right?
but yeah, the plugin does support that as well. I think the groups method is very powerful, and it's a great way to do, say, cross department enrollments. It seems to be very effective for those clients who we've got using it.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks for your question. Cheers. Right. Okay. So on to the auto group plugin. So auto groups, as I said, we don't have a method of automating group membership and group creation as well, other than through going to users, upload users, and then using this tool. Hopefully this will be, part of this will be stripped out in the future and be part of the CSV upload. I think that would be beneficial to lots of users. I think there's a feature request in the tracker already for it. So if there is, please go and vote for it. So auto group. So let's look at how we can do that. So the first thing I'm going to do, so what, sorry, just to summarize, so what it does, it creates groups based on a profile field. So the first thing I'm going to do is just create a user profile field. And we're going to call this one, I'm just going to call it groups. Again, I'll leave the settings as they are. And there we have, we've got our extra profile field. And then we're just going to look at the plugin. So in the plugins page under local is where it's installed. Here it is, auto group. These are the general settings. So the first one enables it. This one you're probably going to want to enable once you've got it set up and running, so that any new course gets the auto group facility added to it. I'm just going to leave it off for now, just for this demonstration, and we'll turn it on in a short while, just so I can show you that. Likewise for restored courses as well. Again, that'll be a decision you'd make within your own institution. You can manually added users are not removed when auto groups are updated. So that setting just basically means it leaves manually added ones alone. This setting here says when these are ticked here, what is it going to group by? So we've got the department field. So that's the built-in field. And then we've got our new profile field that we've created here. And then these default eligible roles, so which roles are going to be looked at to be made into groups. So you may want to use teacher, because obviously sometimes you want the teacher to be occupied within the same group as the students for group participation and things like forums, etc. Down here we've got the event triggers. So it says that the plugin listens for changes to make its membership changes, and these are the listeners that you can pick. So the reason why you can choose these is, as it says down here, there are issues with performance if you have too many things being looked at, because every time the page loads it's going to check these things. So I've just left it with the default ones, where it's going to look at role assignment changes and it's going to look for user profile changes. So I'm just going to save that for a second. And then I'm going to find a course. This one, just leave that. Sorry, participants. And you'll see here, we've got a section called auto groups. So I'm going to click into there. And this is with a course that hasn't had this automatically created, because we don't have that tick box enabled. And it says, what are you going to create a group set using? So I'm going to say custom profile field. I'm going to use my new one that I just created called groups. It's going to only affect students. And there it is, it's created. Number of groups 0 at the minute. So I've hit participants. And for test user 2, oops, wrong button. For test user 2, I'm just going to edit their profile. In groups, I'm going to call it green group. Update the profile. Go into the participants list. And you can see there that test user 2 is in a group called green group. And I think that's pretty cool. Now, if I want that to happen when a new course is created, so we'll go back into the plugin settings and we're going to say add to new courses, save changes. That's now saved. I'm going to create a new course. And what we're going to see is if I enroll that user, test 2, as a student, And then the auto groups. Should. I think I need to change the user. Edit the user. It's not creating the group. How annoying. But the rule is there. The rule is there. So let me just check. It's picked authentication method. I bet I didn't pick the right profile field. Yes. Yes, there we go. That'll be it. Doesn't have it selected. Strange. I'll have to look at that a bit more detail before. It worked before when I tested it, so maybe I've done something wrong in my testing. So what are the pitfalls for this? So with the first plugin we looked at, that looks at changes to users. So those changes will happen whenever a user is updated. So you've got to make sure that your overnight processes are running in a quiet time, because it can be quite intensive. If you add a new rule, that will only work on the cron. So if we look at the scheduled tasks, and we scroll down to this is the one here. Now I've got it set to run every 5 minutes. Now you may not want to have that if you are going to be making a big change during the day. You could find that you get a little bit of a performance hit on that, so you might want to change that so that anytime you add a new rule, it doesn't get processed until later in the day during a quiet time overnight. But generally, I think they're very simple plugins, very straightforward to use, very, very easy to set up, and something that hopefully you might find in the future, if you decide to have a look at them, that saves you a lot of time and effort. Does anybody have any further questions? I think I maybe saw one question.
There's a question from Sean.
Sean, will that work with the name feature of @ or hash? That one uses with group creation. Sorry, Sean. Do you want to try and just expand on that a bit further? I'm not quite sure. I'm not following on that one.
Yeah, when you auto create groups from the participant menu, you can name them with just the @ symbol, and it'll name it group 1, group A, group B, group C, depending on whether you use the @ or the hashtag. And so you manually named it green group or whatever. And in our Moodle, we generally just use group A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so I was just wondering if you can create multiple groups in a course, with a certain amount of users in them, and does it name it automatically?
I've never tested that. That's a very good one. Yeah. So like a dynamic group creation. So yeah, I've not tested that. I have to give that a try. It sounds like a great idea, and I've not given it a go, but now that you've brought it to my attention, I think that's one definitely worth testing. But yeah, thanks for your question.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Hi, Jared.
There was Heather and I in this course took a course yesterday where they used a CSV file to create multiple groups at once on an upload. So I got it to work once, but I couldn't get it to work the second time. But I don't know what I was doing wrong. But what's the name of the guy that's helping put it? That's on at Carroll College here.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah. No, is it him? Anywho, he's the one that was doing the Moodle administration class and showed us how to do that.
Cool. Yeah. So was it how was that done? How were their groups uploaded? Were they through the course section?
Through the course section or the group section. I'm trying to pull up my sessions here. One or the other. Username, test name. No, that's not that's the user upload.
I believe this is Heather. So I believe it was under users, and where you download group users.
And he somehow managed to use it to where in that he could take all those users and break them out into the groups that Sean was just mentioning.
Yep. Where
Cool.
load users.
Excellent. Cool. That sounds really good. Again, something to try, something to give it a go. That sounds great. Thanks for the heads up on that one. Cool.
Chris, I have a quick question about the auto groups and setting up a group user profile field.
Yeah.
Do you see any issues with the users putting in the wrong group name? And is there a recommendation there?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a very good point to make. So when you're creating these user profile fields, highly recommended that you lock them and make sure that the user cannot amend them. We would recommend as part of the process is that you're more than likely going to be pulling that information from another source. So you don't want users to be putting data into those fields. You rightly bring that up. Yeah. So if I go back to my my LDAP plugin, and I just go down. So I have the option to lock the field and make sure that the user cannot amend that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, great question. Yeah, thanks for that. Cheers.
Yep.
Cool. Anybody have anything else? Cool. Right. Okay. So just very quickly then, I'm just going to stop sharing on that and go back to here. So yes, back to the presentation. So thanks very much for everybody joining. I hope you found it informative and a few little pieces to follow up on there. I always think it's great to attend a session if you get a nugget. I call them nuggets. So if you just get like a little 2-minute nugget that's sparked my interest as that, I'm going to go look more into that. Then great. Obviously, if you have any questions, please, any further questions, I'm on the Mountain Moodle, so just send me a message if you want to do that through there. Please complete the feedback on the course page, and just have a final slide to put you on. So ethinks we're sponsoring the Moot as well. We've got a virtual vendor booth which is available at these times every day. It's a Zoom session, so just pop in if you've got any questions about services we offer or any other questions you want to ask the team. We'll be manning the booth at those times, and there are 100 Mountain Moot coins available for anybody who turns up. So hopefully that's incentive enough for you to just pop in and say hello. So again, thanks very much for joining. I hope you found the session useful, and hope you have a great rest of your day and a great Moot.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
That was helpful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Stop recording.